Sometimes life feels less like a routine and more like a silent arena where every glance, every pause, every choice becomes a signal. Most people move through it half awake, unaware that each tiny reaction is shaping how the world responds to them. But once you notice the patterns beneath the surface, you stop feeling like life is happening to you and begin to see how much of it is shaped by the moves you make without realizing. Right now, whether you see it or not, you are inside a game. Not the kind with levels or flashing screens, but the kind you step into each morning without thinking. A game woven from the tone of your voice, the promises you keep, the way you look at someone when they speak, the patience you choose, the boundaries you set, and the quiet calculations you make about people's intentions. Every interaction becomes part of this hidden design. Who you trust, who you distance yourself from, when you speak up, when you retreat, each choice becomes a ripple that shapes the next moment and the one after that. This is where the true game begins, not in trying to outsmart someone, but in noticing the rhythm of your own behavior. Even the smallest scenario can reveal a pattern. Imagine something as ordinary as plates left in a sink. What started as a simple agreement slowly becomes a sequence. One person slips, the other overlooks it. The next time, it happens again. Suddenly, the decision is no longer about dishes. It becomes a quiet test of what you are willing to encourage or ignore. Do you handle it to keep harmony today, or let it sit to protect fairness tomorrow? You are not choosing between tidy and messy. You are choosing between guiding cooperation or allowing consequence. And whatever you choose becomes a message the other person learns from. That is the real game. Not the action itself, but the meaning your reaction creates. Game theory uncovers a truth most people never slow down enough to see. The world isn't shaped by what someone does, but by the responses those actions meet. A person can disrespect, misuse your kindness, or overlook your effort, but only when they feel the price is low. A person can be loyal, sincere, or generous, but only when they sense that integrity is met with appreciation. The game is never just about what happens now. It is about the behavior that this moment silently seeds. And here's the part that surprises almost everyone. You cannot bow out. Even avoiding conflict, even staying relaxed, even choosing not to engage becomes its own move, and others adjust to it. Not choosing is still a choice. Quietness communicates something. Patience communicates something. Turning away communicates something. You are constantly teaching people how to treat you, even when you believe you are letting things slide. The real question is not whether you are playing. The real question is whether you are awake while doing it. When you start seeing each interaction as a small sequence with a lasting echo, you stop moving randomly. You stop feeling confused when someone repeats a behavior you once tolerated. You stop chasing victories that only satisfy the moment and begin shaping the pattern that will guide every moment after. This is where your advantage forms. While most people react out of impulse or inconsistency, the ones who understand the long arc of trust, consequence, and cooperation can navigate almost any situation without force, manipulation, or fear. They don't win because they overpower. They win because they perceive the landscape others miss. Now that you can finally see the structure beneath the surface, the instinct might be to try to win as quickly as possible. That is where most people stumble. They believe victory means being dominant, proving their strength, or ensuring no one ever gets the better of them. It feels logical in theory, yet it unravels in practice. Not because their action is misguided, but because their focus is too narrow. You can triumph today and lose the bond that could have built a lifetime. You can be right in the moment and unknowingly dissolve the trust needed for countless future moments. This is the trap many fall into. The win that feels satisfying right now is often the one that empties your future without you noticing. You have seen it before. The person who insists on winning every debate ends up with fewer people willing to speak to them. The negotiator who pushes too hard secures the deal, but loses every invitation that could have followed. The partner who must always be correct eventually wonders why warmth disappears from the relationship. They believe they are succeeding, but in truth, they are draining the value of what could have been. Game theory shows why this happens. In a one-time interaction, selfishness might seem effective because only one outcome matters. But in ongoing relationships, which is what real life is made of, that mindset collapses. When others see that you are willing to pressure, manipulate, guilt, or overpower to achieve what you want, the instinct to cooperate fades. The game shifts, the trust breaks, and the advantage you thought you gained becomes the very thing that costs you the most. When trust begins to fade, people stop offering the gentle grace they once gave freely. They stop assuming good intentions. They shift into caution, and once both sides start protecting themselves instead of the connection, the relationship enters a downward pull where no one wins. It is a slow unraveling, the kind that can dissolve friendships, break teams apart, and make even strong foundations collapse. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the person who loses for a completely different reason. They avoid friction at all costs. They believe staying agreeable will preserve peace, so they carry the weight, swallow the discomfort, and convince themselves that being understanding is the higher path. But kindness without limits is not kindness. It becomes an unguarded doorway that anyone can walk through. Game theory explains why this happens. When someone offers cooperation, no matter how they are treated, the logical response is to take advantage of that openness. Not out of cruelty, but because the situation quietly encourages it. So two very different personalities end up with the same fate. The fighter who pushes too hard finds themselves alone. The peacemaker who absorbs too much finds themselves drained. Different methods, identical outcome. Both lose because they misunderstand the true nature of the game. Real winning has nothing to do with overpowering someone or avoiding all conflict. It is about choosing the approach that produces the best long-term trajectory. The person ruled by pride will always fall behind the person who values endurance. The one chasing praise will always be outpaced by the one who builds structure. The person who tries to triumph in every exchange is inevitably surprised when they lose the larger arc that matters most. And this brings us to the strategy that outperforms nearly every other. It is not harsh, it is not passive, it is not manipulative, it is steady, it is consistent, it is grounded in fairness, it encourages cooperation, responds firmly to betrayal, and allows the relationship to reset instead of carrying resentment forward. When this strategy was discovered, it changed the entire field. And in the next part, you will see how it overcame the sharpest minds on the planet. So if trying to win the wrong way leads to loss, the real question becomes what actually works. What approach doesn't just feel satisfying in the moment, but consistently produces the best results over time, no matter who you're dealing with? That question drove a political scientist named Robert Axelrod to a brilliant experiment. Instead of theorizing, he turned life into a simulation. He gathered some of the brightest minds in strategy, mathematicians, economists, military analysts, psychologists, and challenged them to create programs that would compete in repeated interactions. The goal was simple in words. Find the mindset that wins not once, but again and again. Every participant brought their ideas. Some built programs around deception, others relied on intimidation. Some tried randomness, chaos, or unpredictability. A few crafted calculations so intricate they resembled Cold War intelligence protocols. It was the ultimate test of strategy, an intellectual Olympics of the mind. If a genius method existed to dominate both cooperation and conflict, someone would uncover it. Yet the winner was none of that. It wasn't brilliant, complicated, manipulative, or aggressive. The strategy that triumphed could be summarized in 4 lines of code, a principle even a child could grasp. Begin friendly. Mirror the energy you receive. If the other side resets, forgive. No tricks, no secret maneuvers, no first strike, just clarity, fairness, and immediate accountability. Here's how it worked. Every interaction started with cooperation. If the other player cooperated, it reciprocated. If the other player betrayed, it mirrored the betrayal, but only once. And if the other player returned to cooperation, the past was dropped and the game started anew. That simple loop dismantled manipulative strategies, outperformed greedy ones, neutralized aggressors, exposed false cooperators, and effortlessly aligned with honest players. What stunned experts most was how it won, not by defeating anyone, but by creating the maximum cooperation, avoiding long-term conflict, and setting boundaries strong enough to make betrayal a costly choice. The data was clear. Domination is not the path to lasting success. The approach that wins most consistently is the one that encourages others to work with you. Why did it outshine nearly everyone else? Because most people fail to balance trust with consequence. They are either too soft and easily exploited, or too forceful and left isolated. This method did neither. It rewarded goodwill, responded firmly to selfishness, and allowed the game to reset whenever someone demonstrated a desire to cooperate again. Everything changed when this principle became clear. The winning move in life isn't manipulation or submission, it's reciprocal clarity. Once you understand that, you stop struggling for control and start building systems of mutual benefit. That's how a strategy so simple it could fit on a napkin outperformed the sharpest minds on the planet. Now the question shifts. If a four-line strategy can outperform experts in a simulated world, what happens when it is applied to real life? Because the true power of this method isn't in theory, it reveals itself through real people, real emotions, and real consequences. This is where most of us recognize ourselves in the story, because deep down, you have already encountered glimpses of this approach in the world around you. You've met people who embody it naturally without ever mentioning game theory. They are immediately easy to trust, resistant to manipulation, and quietly respected by nearly everyone they meet. You notice them right away. They begin interactions with genuine openness, giving respect before expecting it, assuming goodwill instead of hunting for flaws or slights. But if someone crosses a line, their reaction is measured. They do not explode, plead, or dramatize. They respond in kind, neither louder nor colder, simply clear. And the moment someone corrects their behavior, they reset instantly. No grudges, no silent punishment, no emotional scorekeeping. Cooperation meets cooperation, betrayal meets defense, adjustment meets forgiveness, and then they move forward. This is the mirror strategy alive in daily life, and it works everywhere. Relationships, friendships, workplaces, negotiations, family systems, social circles, even online interactions. Why does it succeed? Because it resolves the greatest friction in human connection, uncertainty. People do not fear kindness, they fear inconsistent boundaries, unpredictable responses, and hidden resentment. When your actions are steady, proportional, and predictable, people relax. They understand what behaviors are rewarded, what is rejected, and that no unspoken ledger is being kept for someday. Contrast this with the person who is always agreeable, always calm, always fine, until suddenly they explode or vanish. They believe they are avoiding conflict, yet they only sow it for later. Or the person who responds with constant force, suspicion, or dominance. They think they are protecting themselves, but they are teaching others to avoid them entirely unless unavoidable. Both personalities lose. One fails to enforce consequence, the other fails to allow forgiveness. The reciprocal strategy, the rule of equal response, creates something far stronger than mere protection. It builds reputation, and reputation is currency in every game you play. When people see that you begin with cooperation but enforce fairness immediately, they do not test you the same way. They do not deceive you, exploit you, or manipulate you. Not out of fear, but out of clarity and predictability. They know exactly what kind of game you are playing. And in that knowledge, you become one of the rarest people in the world, someone genuinely worth cooperating with. Once you see the mirror strategy in action, a subtle truth emerges. True advantage isn't about overpowering, intimidating, or outsmarting others. It comes from being the person others instinctively want to work with. That is the real cheat code in the game of life. Not fear, not dominance, but consistent, predictable fairness. The world is already full of people scheming, trying to manipulate and outplay each other. What it lacks are those who reward honesty, respond proportionally, and refuse to let a single misstep poison the future. Crushing someone may feel satisfying once, but earning trust pays dividends indefinitely. You don't have to be the loudest or strongest in the room when you are the one everyone chooses to collaborate with rather than compete against. The reciprocity code teaches this. Strength is not about never being crossed, it is about ensuring that being crossed twice carries a cost. while also resetting the moment respect returns. It is a completely different way to win. You stop expending energy trying to control others and instead influence them through clarity. Loyalty is not forced. It emerges naturally when conditions make it the logical choice. Deal fairly with you, and fairness is returned. Betray and access to cooperation vanishes. This is not softness. This is structure. And structure wins in every arena: business, leadership, marriage, friendship, even nation building. The most effective strategy does not require genius, manipulation, or emotional detachment. It requires discipline. The discipline to begin with goodwill, respond instantly but proportionally to betrayal, release grudges when others correct themselves, and resist revenge when fairness is enough. Most people fail not because they are weak, but because they react without a guiding code. Once you internalize this, your focus shifts. You stop trying to beat others and start creating ecosystems of cooperation. Friendship circles where everyone rises together. Business networks where trust compounds. Relationships where respect is assumed, not negotiated. Game theory shows it, but real life confirms it. You do not ascend by pushing others down. You rise by becoming the person for whom cooperation is always the wisest choice. If this perspective on life and cooperation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which part of the mirror strategy do you see showing up in your own relationships? Drop a comment below and share your experience. If you found value in this, consider giving it a like. It helps more people discover these ideas. And if you want to explore more strategies for clarity, trust, and cooperation, subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video. Sharing this with someone who could use a little insight into their interactions might just spark a ripple of change.